Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm ashamed of myself. I owe you an apology. Really do. And I say it from the bottom of my heart. I've known for years that Dan Abrams, the ubiquitous, odd-looking fellow who's been an ABC legal analyst, who's now a host on something called One Nation, who has all kinds of investments and all kinds of media operations on cable, Court TV, where he's the Jerry Springer of television, shows involving law and order. Dan Abrams really can't decide who he is or what he is. He's in a constant state of transition between a legal analyst, a journalist/reporter, and a TV clown. But I've known for some time, since I think I've told you this, but I should have been more prudent. Dan Abrams has a family secret. No, not that one. Dan Abrams has a family secret. And it's this. Dan Abrams has failed to reveal on numerous of his platforms, and he has many, including, I believe, a Trump-hating, America-hating, Hamas-supporting platform called Mediaite. He has failed to reveal on a number of these platforms that his brother-in-law, Greg Andres, who you've probably never heard of before. Greg Andres was assistant special counsel on Robert Mueller's team. Remember them investigating the Russia collusion hoax and President Trump leaking like sieves? 2 years, millions of dollars later, interfering in the election. I don't remember Dan Abrams ever making a statement at Mediaite or most of his platforms that that's his brother-in-law, while he's a legal analyst as a news reporter. You know, news reporters, they have an obligation to be impartial and to be objective. They're not supposed to be opinion makers. So when actual news reporters and journalists conceal such relationships, it's a big deal. It's a big deal. So his brother-in-law, obviously married to his sister. Who's his sister? Ronnie Abrams. Who's Ronnie Abrams? She's a federal judge in New York. A federal judge in New York? Really? Appointed by Barack Obama, another Democrat. Does he reveal that? Not to my knowledge. But that's not my focus. Greg Andres is my focus. Wouldn't you have wanted to know that this reporter, that this journalist, an ABC legal analyst, that his family member was prominently involved in trying to put Donald Trump in prison? Wouldn't that be relevant to know from a legal analyst and a journalist and a reporter? Now, obviously, all the other analysts over at Mediaite and elsewhere, they're well aware of this. They must be. Maybe they're not. Wouldn't be surprised. I don't remember any of them writing anything about it either. Pretty amazing. Which explains why that site, which I call Mediocreite, which is very generous, is obsessed and unhinged with smearing Donald Trump, smearing his staff, smearing his lawyers, smearing his supporters, smearing his rallies, because they represent the views of Dan Abrams. who pretends to be a journalist and a reporter. And the site conceals the fact that his brother-in-law was a hatchet man among hatchet men and women, serving as special counsel to the special counsel in the Mueller investigation. Seems fairly important, does it not? Of course, I'm not a journalist. I'm not a reporter. I don't pretend to be one. In any respect. But Danny is. This organization he founded, Mediaite, they're supposed to be. And yet they concealed that from you. They didn't reveal it. In fact, all of Washington and all of New York, and the reporter world and the journalist world had to know this fact. Didn't they? And yet I can't find a single story criticizing him. Not one. For failing to reveal this information. Certainly not at Mediaite. Certainly not on all the Jerry Springer cable shows that he's producing. Certainly not as a legal analyst on ABC and wherever the hell else he appears. Airport Radar. Sonograms. I don't know. How about One Nation? Have they revealed that? I don't believe so. Very troubling, don't you think? Don't you think, Mr. Producer? And so I want to apologize to the millions of you listening to this program. I want to apologize to the millions of you on all my platforms, which I give my unvarnished opinion about everything, for not revealing to you earlier what I had known about Dan Abrams and his family secret. But now you know. Now all his platforms know. They always knew, but they concealed it. Dan Abrams certainly didn't make it a priority to reveal it. Maybe he whispered it one day as a legal analyst. I don't know. But we've looked. We've looked far and wide. It may have been done, but we can't find it. We looked through the archives of Mediaite. We couldn't find it. We couldn't find it. Now the secret's out. Wow. What a revelation, don't you think? Incredible. So now everything that Dan Abrams has ever done on his own, has ever thought on his own, has ever said on his own, is now tainted by the fact that he didn't reveal that he had this brother-in-law married to his judge sister. Because it's obvious, without question, that familiar relationship is what drove Dan Abrams' opinions, his legal analysis, his thoughts, his statements, his writing, everything. But for the fact that he had this relationship he kept concealed. Who is the real Dan Abrams? Since he's a front for his brother-in-law. Who is he? Who is he?